Hello, and thank you for joining me in another video. If you are new here, my name is Howard. I've been a retail investor for over 10 years now, and I recently created this YouTube channel basically to share my investing research and talk about all the things that I'm interested in the world of investing. It can be quite a lonely game sometimes, and I wanted to just create basically a space that I'm going to be sharing my knowledge, but also hopefully learning some more bits from you guys as well. So if that's something you're interested in, please do subscribe and follow along for the journey. Now that's out of the way, let's get into the point of today's video, which is Nebius stock, which is one of the stocks I'm most excited about at the moment. It is one of my biggest positions. We got some exciting stuff to go through today to talk about another client that we have found out that Nebius has got on board, but also how that goes into the bigger picture of how Nebius are serving these clients and why people are choosing to go for them. And I'm also going to jump into the stock price, which had a really, really good day yesterday. There's also some stuff on the stock price that I wanted to speak about as well that looked very promising. So on that note, let's get into the stock price itself. So we had a really good day for the stock yesterday, up 5.7%, and we basically had a really strong start, and we basically held these gains at around $107 for the whole day. The reason why I'm particularly interested in this is because if we look at the S&P 500, we know we've had a rocky start to the year so far. S&P 500 was actually down yesterday, and it actually had a pretty poor day. It finished in the red. And if we look at a lot of growth stocks as well, there was also a lot of red in the market as well. So the fact that Nebius, which is a very excitable, hyped up AI name, is outperforming the market is really promising to see. And another thing that I think is really promising to see is something that I've mentioned a couple of times before, which is I would like to see Nebius basically start peeling away from the other data center stocks, for example, IRN. I invest in Nebius because I believe in the full service that they're providing in their AI cloud. They're not simply renting out in NVIDIA GPUs. They are providing much more to the customer, which at the end of the day means they're going to be able to take more money from the customer because they're providing more value. And it means that their service is a lot more sticky and less likely to churn and people to go across to other companies. So that's why I'm invested in Nebius. And what we did also see looking at this is the other big data center names. So if we're looking at IRN here, was actually down a lot of the day and did peak up towards the end, but not as much as Nebius, up 2.8%. And the other one, CoreWeave, if we look into here, up only 1.77%, and also was down or flat a lot of the day as well, despite Nebius really going for a run. This may just be a one-off day. I mean, it shouldn't really look into stock prices on a day-by-day, but it is interesting to see that certainly yesterday, Nebius was showing real strength and also showing strength compared to its peers that are in the GPU AI database market. So I thought that was interesting to see. Certainly something that I'm looking for, which will be very bullish for Nebius in general, is if Nebius continues to outperform these other data center plays, which will kind of show that people are looking at this as more than just database and GPU rental, but actually as a piece of software and infrastructure that is much more important than that. So now we've gone over the stock price, let's get into another thing that I wanted to speak about today, which is, first of all, I come across this on X, and this is from MV Kuna, who is a really good growth investor. He's got really popular on X, and rightfully so, from being big on some growth stocks very early on. I actually first come across him because he was a big kind of Rocket Lab supporter back before the massive run, and also Nebius as well more recently. But he basically brought this to my attention about Nebius Token Factory is now being used by Monday.com. A source was on LinkedIn by Adam Lantine, I believe you say his name. So I did go over to LinkedIn to try to have a look at this as well. And we got the source here, which is from, I believe he works in marketing for Nebius. So it's quite a long post. And at the bottom of this, to summarize it as well, he does recently announce that scale inference using open models, how Nebius Token Factory delivers control and efficiency. You'll hear directly from customers like Monday.com and Revolut, how they tackle tough inference challenges. So we'll kind of get onto the study that they spoke about in this a little bit, but basically they're announcing here Monday.com is using them, Revolut is using them, and they're going to be in an upcoming presentation that Nebius are doing at NVIDIA GTC, which is their kind of AI developers conference, and that's coming up in March. What we can learn about from this post in general is why people are going to Nebius. And what he's talking about here is inference. So two parts of AI. We've got the learning phase where we've got all of our data and we're teaching our AI models to learn on this data. And we've got inference, which is basically the constant calls that we're doing. If you're speaking to ChatGPT and it's going out and providing you an answer, that's inference. It's running the model and giving you an answer as opposed to building the model in the first place. What he's basically going on to here, well, we can kind of summarize it a bit, but scaling inference is hard, especially when embedding it into the core of your software. The era of infinite margin expansion through user growth is under threat. SaaS companies used to spend long development cycles building the next version of the product or solution, release it, and improve margins through net user growth. And he goes on to say, but the market is moving quickly and expecting AI productivity at every interaction. At the same time, we're moving from primarily consuming AI to building autonomous AI systems that develop workflows from scratch, implement multi-parameters and tests, or negotiate the end-to-end deal. So what I think he's basically talking about here is inference AI is growing very, very fast, and people are using more and more. And these SaaS companies are actually increasingly having to use inference in their products. People are expecting to use AI in all of their software now, and it is being implemented at every step of the flow, which means that inference, people are constantly calling these GPUs to run models and come back with these AI results. And basically, he goes on to say this is actually going to become a very big cost center for companies if it is not managed correctly. Autonomous agents live on GPUs, keeping them spinning all the time. For 50 to 100 users in a small experiment, cost can be contained, but at production scale, it's unwieldy, almost like a tax. One reason is because a lot of companies underutilize their GPUs, sometimes running between 5 and 15%. And of course, you're still paying for 100% of the GPUs. Without a thoughtful approach, optimizing inference, net new users may reduce margins and shrink revenue. So AI is providing a lot of benefits to the people that are using these SaaS products. However, it is also coming at a cost, and you're having to run inference, and it's a cost center. Someone to use your SaaS previously, you're going to be doing deployments and stuff like that, but for someone using it, it costs very, very little in terms of how much you have to pay to keep that software up and running. Now AI is embedded to all of this software. What he's indicating here is actually costing a lot more money because people are using these AI features all the time, which is good. It means your SaaS is more valuable, but it also means you need to keep track of these costs. You need to be utilizing your GPUs and running them as efficiently as possible, which is where Nebius comes in. At Nebius, we've seen how inference costs can get out of control and solutions can feel undifferentiated if you only use out-of-the-box closed foundations models or running generic infrastructure. What we'll go into now is what the kind of structure of this is. Basically, they've used NVIDIA's Run AI, which is basically how to kind of separate workloads in between GPUs to make sure you can maximize how effectively GPUs are used. And this is what Nebius does for their customers. If you want to build your SaaS, or for example, Monday.com, and you're going to have AI features built into that, you want to run on these GPUs that Nebius is using, but Nebius, it's up to them to make this as efficiently as possible so they can make the most money and also charge the lowest cost. So if they've got all these AI workloads coming in and they can choose what GPUs they go to, how efficiently they're run, it means that it's going to be cheaper, or they can charge less because they're running it more efficiently, which means they can capture more of the market. And this is the actual kind of, call it like a mini study that he's talking about here on February the 18th. This was released, but basically the benchmark is showing, to evaluate more efficient approach, NVIDIA and Nebius ran joint benchmarks using NVIDIA Run AI, the AI workload orchestration and optimization software platform in Nebius AI Cloud. The goal was to test whether fractional GPU allocation could improve efficiency and scalability for real-world inference workloads. And the results: consistent throughput scaling across single node and multi-GPU clusters, improved GPU utilization with minimal idle capacity, stable latency, reliable elastic auto-scaling behavior during scale-out events. So if you're like me and you don't work in this field, a lot of this doesn't make too much sense. We can kind of get the gist of it, but essentially it means that they're managing to manage these GPUs and run these AI workloads much more efficiently and make the most out of their GPU clusters. The way these companies are using Nebius, if you take Monday.com, for example, I don't use their product, but say they've got a new AI piece, an AI feature in there, they will use Nebius to train that AI feature, possibly using an open source model. So not just going to OpenAI and pulling from there, but actually building on top of an open source model, training on their own data. Every single time someone in Monday.com uses that, it will go through to the GPU clusters and come back. What Nebius is allowing people to do is train and run the inference of their products much more efficiently, which is why they're going to keep coming back. Why this excites me as well is not only are they getting customers like Monday.com, they're going to have to get a lot of customers like that and keep them. But on that keeping them point, this is going to be a crucial piece of infrastructure in every single business. And now running these GPUs and running these AI features is going to be a big cost center, but it's going to provide value to the customers. So you need to make it as a cost center. You need to spend money here. And it's up to Nebius to make it as easy as possible for you to run these and also as cheap as possible and efficient as possible. So this is kind of looking at all the right areas for me and why I'm kind of excited about Nebius. It seems to be helping out customers, and this is why they're going to be coming for Nebius. They need much more than just renting a GPU rack or even having their own GPU cluster. They need Nebius to maximize all of this stuff and also make it completely scalable. It's not like buying your own GPU cluster, you need to maximize it. You can start very small, increase your inference workloads, and Nebius will just charge you the amount that it uses. And it's up to Nebius to make sure this is run as efficiently as possible so they make money on the other side. So I know it gets quite complicated. One of the problems with Nebius is that unless you're a very technical developer, it's hard to actually get your fingers and use this product. So we have to kind of go into this, try and make it a bit more understandable to kind of get the gist of how this applies to us as investors. And then last week, we'll go on to the NVIDIA GTC conference. So this is what was mentioned in that LinkedIn post. And we've got Roman Chernin, the co-founder and chief business officer of Nebius, is going to be doing a talk here. I think this is where they mentioned they're going to have some of their customers actually at this event as well. So this is going to be really good to see what they're doing. They're going to be announcing how they're helping developers run their workloads on Nebius. And we might even get some other little releases about maybe some customers or some other features that they're doing at the moment. So I'm certainly going to be waiting for this to come up and see if we can either watch it or get a good summary of what they're talking about. So I hope you found this video useful. I know it can get a bit technical sometimes, but I thought it would just be useful to go through this, talk about the kind of customers that they are getting on board and who are working with them, and then crucially why they're deciding to work with Nebius, because it's crucial to understand that part of the business as an investor. So I hope you found this useful. If you have, please do let me know. And if you've got any questions on this as well, or any thoughts behind how the Nebius product works, please do let me know in the comments as well, and share any information you have as well, because I'm always up for learning some more. So I hope you found this useful again. And apart from that, I will see you on the very next video.